Hello everyone and welcome to another daily planning routine vlog video. My daughter's birthday party is over and she received a lot of Lego presents. Here are some of them that she has worked on over the weekend. It's getting warmer this time around and more birds have shown up at our balcony and they are messy eaters. But they do eat up the ones that are strewn about when food becomes scarce. This aerial lift tractor has been parked in front of my house for a couple of days now because they are working on fixing some parts of the building block. For Mother's Day, I received this white flower vinca plant. I'm really happy with this addition to the garden. That's not all that came home with the plant. My husband bought this praying mantis egg sac for my daughter to observe. I don't like bugs, especially ones that can grow big like this one. For now, it's staying outside on the balcony. Once it hatches, it's going to have to stay in the container. It's around 7 AM and I've prepared my daughter's breakfast. It's roti prata with some mayo and a cup of milk. Sometime later after dropping off my daughter at school, I'm back home and ready to have my own breakfast. Preparing the coffee has become a therapeutic session of sorts. I love the smell of freshly ground coffee beans and the sound of the water bubbling into the pot. Even the sound of the coffee being poured into the cup seems soothing to me. Besides the coffee, I'm having the same thing as my daughter this morning, and now to finish my breakfast while watching some YouTube videos. After breakfast is done, I begin my planning session. Starting from the calendar index page, I mark yesterday's job search task on my habit tracker that I forgot to mark. That's all for now as the day is still young. I'm moving on to the weekly pages. I'm just going to mark my water intake. That's for the cup of coffee I drank this morning. Moving on, there's nothing for the goals page, so I'm moving on to the daily page. Before flipping to the days page, I'm just going to mark a task I forgot to check off the day before. And here's today's daily page. Yes, I drew a praying mantis because of that container I showed you at the beginning of this video. So the first thing I do on the daily page is to list my tasks for the day. Besides the usual routine task, today I have an interview going on, so I need to list tasks related to that. I also need to reset some passwords on some accounts due to the recent scare, so that needs to be taken care of. Once the task list is done, I can then move on to my journaling portion of the page. Here, I wrote about what happened yesterday for Mother's Day. After my daughter's music class, my husband and my daughter stopped by at Home Depot to collect a free pot of white flower vinca plant, which I love. I don't have the white flower ones yet, so it's a nice addition to the garden. Next, I wrote about the praying mantis egg sac they bought from Home Depot. My daughter was pretty excited about it, and I think it's because her school has the same container as well and they're doing an observation. She wanted to have this in her bedroom, and originally I placed it on her window ledge, but after finding out that there would be hundreds of baby praying mantises coming out of the egg sac, I insisted that it stayed outside. Moreover, the holes on the lid look kind of big and I'm sure they could crawl out of there when we're not looking. Next, I wrote about the upcoming interview that's happening at 1:30 PM. I'm feeling pretty much calm right now, but I know later, about half an hour before the actual interview time, I'm going to feel that little bit of anxiety, but I'll worry about that later during that time. And then finally, I wrote about the job search status for 2 other roles that I applied to and interviewed for. And that's the end of this morning's planning session in my daily page. I will probably take a few photos of the daily page to upload on Instagram. After that's done, I decided to sit back, relax, and watch some YouTube videos. Sometime later, I'm upstairs thinking of taking a short nap. I was feeling kind of sleepy, probably because my daughter had slept with us in the middle of the night and I had some interrupted sleep because of it. It's about 9:43 AM and I think I could take maybe an hour or two to nap. I had closed my eyes thinking I would sleep right away, but I was still awake an hour later. I don't think it's gonna happen, so I got up. To help me stay awake or not feel as sleepy, I decided to open the blinds and make the room brighter. It's such a nice day outside. So, okay, if I can't take a nap, I might as well do some planning session. At the calendar index page, I'm marking the job search task off since I've been preparing for the interview and practicing the Q&A. That's that for now. Moving on to the monthly page. If you've not seen my setup video where I explain how I use this page, this is where I keep track and plan my YouTube channel as well as my Instagram posts. Here I'm just marking off filming this daily planning routine vlog video since that's what I'm doing right now, and then I mark off the tracker for my Instagram since I had posted this morning. Moving on to the weekly pages. I'm updating my water tracker and then I'm logging in my Wordle for the day and the score. I changed the location for the Wordle log because I wanted to use these stickers by Lizzie B stickers and it looked better at the bottom of the spread. There's nothing to update here on the goals page, so moving on. I always flip to every section as a force of habit. And now arriving at the daily page. I'm checking off my morning routine as I have worked on those tasks earlier. Usually it's my food log, Wordle, Duolingo, and some other little task I've grouped together for the morning routine. Next, I checked off Netflix password. I needed to update the password because I received an alert that somebody with no profile was accessing my account. And then I checked off Yahoo laptop because I needed to make sure I can open my account on my laptop in preparation for the interview. I also did another round of interview practice. And then finally, I took some time to reply to a recruiter email I received this morning. That's all I needed to check for the daily page. Moving on to the back pages of my Hobonichi cousin. There's nothing for the cleaning log. On my self-care page, I'm marking some items for the month of May that I forgot to update. Sometime over the past 2 weeks, I had taken a nap, visited Barnes & Noble, watched some motivational videos, enjoyed nature, and did some gardening. And now flipping past some pages to the 365 days check-off sheet where my sleep tracker is, I'm just going to color in purple to represent that I only slept about 6 hours total for the day. And that's all the update I'm going to do for this session. Now I'm going to take a break to work on some tasks. The aerial lift has somehow moved closer to my balcony. It's getting a little close and personal now. While I'm waiting for my lunch to heat up in the microwave, I take some time in between to unload the dishwasher. Here's my lunch, and while I'm eating, I'm watching some YouTube vlogs. After lunch, I did some preparation for the interview coming up. Here's the setup for the interview. For virtual interviews, I usually use my laptop because it's easier. While waiting for the appointment time, I listen to some calming music to calm my accelerated heartbeat. Half an hour later, the interview was over and I'm doing some planning session to relax. Here at the calendar index page, I'm updating my mood for the day in my tracker. And then I moved on to the weekly pages to update my water tracker as well as check off some items off my weekly list. My old crossbody cloth bag was in tatters and I figured it would be a good idea to replace it. It's a cheap functional bag from Amazon. Next, I just dotted my entry with a metallic pink ink to indicate that it was a job search related task. Flipping over to the monthly currently page, I decided to add some entries for my monthly highlights. I wrote about how my interviews went. I didn't blank out this time and I'm happy with that, but I did ramble a bit for today's interview. My interview skills need a lot of work, but no matter how often I practice, it never comes out the way I want it to during the interview. Sometimes I know exactly what to say and other times I'm scrambling for words, especially for behavioral type of questions. The other entry is concerning what happened to my daughter's Roblox account. Flipping on to the daily page, I'm going to check off some tasks. I did the dishwasher earlier just now. I'm already filming this video, so might as well check this off. I've already prepped for the interview and interview is over, so checking those off. And that is it for this session. Now I'm going to take some time to do some tasks or relax or go over what had happened during the interview. I decided to refill the bird feeder even though there's still some food left about. Besides this cup over here, there's another feeder tied to the rail. I refilled that one as well. Sometime later in the afternoon, I decided to start editing this video to try to take my mind off of the interview that had happened. A few hours later, at around 4 p.m, I took a break and I went back into another planning session. Again, as a habit, I flipped through the sections from the beginning to see what needs to be updated and skipping over the ones that do not. At the monthly, I'm just updating the YouTube task tracker for editing before moving on. At the daily page, I'm checking off bird feed since I had done that during my earlier break. And then I decided to check off decorating tomorrow's page because that's what I'm going to do right now. So when I was figuring out on what to draw, I thought about shows, and the show that came to mind was the upcoming Bridgerton Season 3, and in the show they always have bees. At least to me it seemed prominent, so I decided to draw a bee. To draw it, I referred to this image. I had thought about what angle of the bee, and at first I figured drawing it with a from the top point of view would be easier since you would be able to see the entire body and legs, but then it might appear flat on the page and would look rather odd surrounded by flowers. So finally I chose this image of the bee with a side view, kinda like how the praying mantis is looking. I changed the angle of the wings a little because I wanted to leave some writing space for journaling, and as I was drawing the legs, I didn't notice that it was further apart than the image. As a result, the torso or body became a little longer than intended, but oh well, I didn't notice this until it was almost done and I didn't want to redo it, so I left it as it is. But I did adjust the wings to make it a little longer because it seemed pretty small for the size of the body. With that minor adjustments done, I began to ink the lines with my pen. Outlining the body was a little challenging. I didn't want to draw definite lines because up close, the body and head appeared almost fur-like. So I did tiny lines to outline the body and the head, and I think that was the right decision. One other thing I wished I had adjusted was the thickness of the body or the curve. It was looking rather slim and straight, but what is done is done. While we wait for me to finish outlining the lines with a pen, I want to talk about the praying mantis egg sac. So it's sitting outside right now and all we need to do is wait for it to hatch, right? I've been doing more research on how and what to do, and it seems like maybe there are a few things I could do while waiting. Something about keeping the surrounding area sunny and humid. Putting it at the window ledge would have been ideal as the windows faces the sun more, but because I didn't want little baby praying mantises to crawl all over our house, the balcony will have to do. It is in the shade, but there's no other choice and will have to suffice. Another thing suggested was to line a wet paper towel to increase the humidity level. I wonder if I should do that and if it would help. All the container said was to leave it alone and wait for it to hatch. Maybe I need to look at more videos. Back to the drawing. I've begun coloring and I started off with yellow because coloring that in later would make it dirty when mixed with other colors. After that, I chose a light brown color to color the majority of the body and head. I wanted to have a little bit of that color before I start adding in the darker ones. Then I chose a darker brown color to make small lines all over the body to create the fur-like texture of the body. The small lines were definitely the way to go. I also used the same color for the wings. After that, I chose an orange color to deepen the color of the pollen on one of its legs. In case you're wondering what that oval-shaped thing was, it's just the pollen it's carrying. Next, I went and grabbed the black color pencil to darken the overall color of the bee. I'm doing similar lines like I did with the brown color pencil earlier to add more fur-like texture. Coloring done, I pick up the pen again to outline the bee. I only thickened the straight lines of the wings, torso, antenna, and legs. The part where it appeared to be tiny hairs sticking out, I had to avoid it, otherwise it would be a wasted effect to go over it with a pen. I should have left the bottom part of the body alone though, because I just realized that half of the body had the hairs, the other half were straight lines, which seemed a little odd. But again, what's done is done, so I moved on to the pencil. Here, I'm just lightly thickening the lines with the pencil as I didn't want to spoil the effect of the short hairs. Now that I'm nearly done, comparing with the original image, it seemed to be on the lighter side and didn't exactly have the colorings of the bee. So I grabbed the black color pencil again to try to darken some areas, but I wasn't sure and I didn't want to spoil the finished product, so in the end I left it alone. For the stickers part of the decoration, I chose some gold foil floral stickers from this mega floral sticker book by Happy Planner. Originally, I was hoping to find some realistic looking flowers with bold colors, but it didn't seem to fit with a bee. so in the end I went with the gold foil ones. I wanted to find a box sticker for the task section, so I chose one from this floral sticker book. It had some additional gold foil flower stickers that I could use as well. I used them to fill in some white space, and I think the final outcome was wonderful. I loved how the gold foil stickers reflected in the light. Can you see it? Despite the size of the bee, I think this is one of my favorite spreads. Now that that's done, I took a break to look outside. The aerial lift is much closer to this level of windows. I wonder how much longer will it be parked here. After dinner, I took my shower and I decided to continue working on editing my video after that. I wanted to get as much done today as possible so that the sooner I finish, the more time I have to get back to job searching. Around 8:45 p.m, it's my daughter's bedtime and she's reading a storybook with her dad. I've been borrowing more challenging books with harder words, and I think it's good to increase her vocabulary. After putting her to bed, I went back into my planner to do my end day planner routine. As usual, I start from the front. I'm going to leave updating the reading tracker for tomorrow because I don't know how much I'm going to read later tonight. So moving on. Nothing for the monthly pages, onwards to the weekly pages. Here, I'm just going to update the water tracker. Flipping past the goals and onto the daily page, I check off prep script as this is for an upcoming video I'm working on, and I did a little bit of that when I had the time just now. And then here I'm showing the daily page for tomorrow. Off camera during story time, I had been unsatisfied with how light the coloring of the bee was, so I had taken the color pencils to darken it. So this is the final outcome that you didn't see. End day planning routine done. Now I'm preparing for my late night reading session. I made myself a cup of hot lemon ginger tea with probiotics. It's caffeine free as well. And usually I take my time to finish my drink, so I should be able to read quite a bit. I'm also watching a video of how to take care of a praying mantis, just a little bit sidetracked. And that's the end of my video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you do give me a thumbs up. If you want to watch more of my other videos, do subscribe to my channel. And with that, I'll see you in the next video. Bye!